that was kind of the moment where I was like, oh, shoot, okay, let's do this thing. Let's jump together.
I feel like sometimes it's our other person, because that was how it was with Soren and I. He had his secure accounting job, and then he came home late, and I'm like, where you been? And he's like, oh, I quit my job.
Welcome to the podcast with Kilee Nichols. I'm Kilee, founder and CEO of the life-changing accessories brand Nickel & Suede and the successful style blog One Little Mama. I made the unlikely transition from stay-at-home mom to founder and entrepreneur. It takes a lot of courage to make a change like that, but I love the growth and the confidence that's come from stepping out of my comfort zone. This is the podcast for people who want to be inspired to be brave, to take a chance, and to change their life. I'll be sharing stories and actionable takeaways about working with your spouse, being a working mom, starting and growing a business, confidence, motivation, and more. So get ready to get inspired and to get started with Kilee Nichols.
Hi, welcome to the podcast. I'm Kilee, and you are with Kilee Nichols. And today I am here with Emily Bordner, owner of EB & Co. And so excited to have her as my guest. She recently opened a brick and mortar store in Brookside, and we last saw each other at the Nickel & Suede flagship grand opening, and just so excited to have you. Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me. I was really looking forward to it.
And last time we talked, we just said, we need to get together and have you on the podcast.
Yes.
Emily really inspires me. We have just kind of touched base back and forth over the years.
Yeah.
I feel like followed each other, both been kind of makers in Kansas City.
Yeah.
And I've seen your business evolve. And so I think it's great to have you and kind of hear your story.
Well, thank you again. I'm really excited to share the space and the time with you. I feel the same way, and I feel like you guys have been a huge inspiration for me as well. So yeah, I'm excited.
Okay. So let's see, what do you remember? How did we first meet?
I was actually thinking about this earlier. I think the first time we met in person was at Maiden Casey's pop-up at HMK on the plaza.
Okay.
And I mean, it was probably 3 or 4 Christmases ago.
Yeah.
And Soren was there too. And I feel like we were there just kind of representing our own brands in HMK. And I remember just kind of talking to you about your process and what you were doing and how everybody loved what you were doing and what I was offering, because we both do leather.
Yeah, and what were you selling then? What did your brand look like then?
It was leather clutches, leather bags. I did some belts, but mostly women's accessories at the time. And then I think I started introducing some glassware. So yeah.
And then now you have
so many things. Yeah.
a full-blown store.
Yeah. So we opened in August, which was awesome and a huge accomplishment. So really happy about that. We offer jewelry as the majority of the business, earrings, hair accessories, and leather. So I really want to keep leather as part of it because it's part of the roots of when we started, how we started, and it's one of my favorite formats that we have.
Well, you and I have that in common.
Right? Yeah, there's a lot of similarities.
Yeah, that's so exciting. I'm really proud of you for all that's a huge transition to have been having a pop-up like we were, and then now to have a full-blown store.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. It's been a lot of fun to kind of curate the space and the vibe and see people react to it as much as you hope they would. So it's really encouraging.
Well, and having opened 2 stores now myself, I understand the huge accomplishment that it is to put together a full store,
yes,
POS system and everything that goes into that. Hire
all the
people.
Things you don't think about, like Apple Maps, and
yes,
it's like, oh my gosh, all the things that you totally take advantage of. Like, why can't I find you online? Why can't I find directions to your store? So lots of learnings. But yeah, it'll make the next one easier. So
that's fantastic. And that sounds exciting. Okay. So tell me about yourself. Where did you grow up? And, tell me about what were you interested in as a kid? What did you want to do when you grew up?
Initially, I wanted to be a nurse. So I kind of wanted to follow my mother's footsteps. And then I took anatomy and I was terrible at it. And so I had to reflect a little bit. And that's when I started doing anthropology or sociology in school. And it's kind of interesting because after I graduated, I kind of habitually started businesses just out of my own state. I was just I'll make perfume or I'll make donuts. I just tried all these different businesses just out of hobbies. I was like, this is fun. I could do it. I could make money at it. Let's just try it.
Okay.
And then a friend of mine was like, why don't you go to business school? You seem to naturally be doing this on your own. And so that's when I went to Rockhurst for my MBA. And it was awesome. It was so much fun. I was totally out of my comfort zone. There was all these suits in there and all these people that looked like they knew what they were doing. And I was just like, why am I here? But it was amazing because it felt like a real fit. Like it was like, I understand this concept. I'm practicing this concept. I can try it immediately. And it really made a huge difference in my life. And it was a big game changer.
Okay. So while you were getting your MBA, what businesses were you doing at the time? Were you selling donuts out of your car? Like, what were you doing?
Yeah. So I had started my business, my EB Leatherworks business. So by that point I was making leather and selling it on the weekends, craft fairs, mostly event based. So yeah, that's kind of where I was in that. And then it was like kind of fun because it was, all of these classes really challenged me and where I was, what I was doing and what I should do next. So it's like, what's the best selling format? Where do you sell the most things? Like, what's the event? Do you sell anything online? So really making me look at things in real time as opposed to doing a case study of McDonald's or something like that. I was able to kind of apply that real world and immediately.
Were the other people in your classes having the same ability to apply what they were doing in school?
No, I don't think. I mean, because some people were like, oh, I work at, Hallmark or I work at McDonald's. I don't know why I could name it McDonald's, but they would immediately apply wherever they were working at the time.
Yeah.
And so they were able to in that way. But I mean, as you know, have your own business, you have a different reaction and investment when it comes to thinking about those things.
Totally.
So yeah, I think I was pretty unique in that way because there was not a lot of business owners in my classes.
Were you working a full-time job as well?
Yes. Yeah, working full-time, having the business, going to school full-time. I was single, so it was a little bit easier then.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really a great time because it made me really appreciate what I wanted to do next. Because my job I had then, it was, I learned a lot, but it was definitely like, okay, this is a moment of not what I want to do forever. What's the next step?
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're working full-time at a job that wasn't your baby. It wasn't your entrepreneurial.
Yeah. I wasn't feeling fulfilled. I wasn't feeling like it was the best match for my skill set. And I felt like I was really trying to be a good employee, but it wasn't really working. So I tried to take a step back and look about where do I want to go? Where do I want to be? And that's kind of when I started working for Hallmark in a fun project that they had. So they owned like Easy Tiger at the time and 5 Point, which is where I worked. And so we were able to have pop-ups in LA, and they wholesaled my leather pieces at that time. So I was able to kind of do that project, and it was amazing. It was so much fun. We got to collaborate with Lou & Grey, which is owned by Ann Taylor.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. So at one point my designs were in Fashion Week.
That's awesome.
Carried by the Hadids. It was bananas. It was so much fun. So yeah, and then that product got defunded. So that's when I was at Hallmark. And I was I loved it. I learned so much. And then the opportunity came up where you have to pick a lane, right? You can only do one thing 100% or whatever that saying is, which drove me crazy every time someone told me that. But I felt like it was true. I couldn't do my job 100% and my side business 100%. And they were both demanding so much I had to pick. And that's when I made the leap.
So was it driving you crazy because it was I know this is true?
Yeah.
Every time somebody was you can't do both 100%.
Oh my gosh,
You're that is so painfully true. Quit telling me that. I want to be the security of my full-time job.
Right.
And I don't want the risk of jumping off.
Yeah, I would say it was more I'm the exception.
Okay.
I can do everything 100%
yes,
and everything's fine and nothing's going wrong. But of course
I don't have to choose.
Yeah, no. So, and then, but it did come a time when I was I honestly needed to look at it. And that's when, my living expenses were really minimal. My car was paid off. My fiance and I were renting an apartment. We were this is the time to do it. We have the least amount of obligations. I really don't need that much to live. So it's a now or never situation. And that's when I did it. And it was so scary. It's only been a year and a half. It hasn't been that long, but it's been so amazing. And I'm so happy. And I feel so great about my path. And I feel a totally different sense of fulfillment than whenever I felt at a job, if that makes sense. There was jobs that I enjoyed and then I identified with and I loved, but doing this is a totally different sort of fulfillment and enjoyment and day to day, which is just empowering and encouraging.
Do you remember the moment you decided I'm definitely going to quit my job and I'm moving full time to this?
Oh my gosh.
What was the moment?
I think the moment was I was sitting down with my fiance at dinner, and I was like, I feel like this is something I should consider. The timing feels right. I don't know. I'm so scared. And he's like, you should do it. And he's super conservative. Like, he's super safety dude. Like, he has a job forever. He stays there. And he was the one that was telling me to do it. He's like, why haven't you done this already? And I was like, okay, this is, you know what I mean? Like, if this is the time. Yeah, if you're telling me this, then I need to actually do it. So
yeah,
that was kind of the moment where I was like, oh, shoot. Okay, let's do this thing. Let's jump together, you know? So
yeah, I feel like sometimes it's our other person, because that was how it was with Soren and I.
Oh, really?
Where, you know, he and I were going to do Nickel and Suede together.
Yeah.
And we launched the site together the first day. He went to work. He had his secure accounting job. And then he came home late. And I'm like, where you been? And he's like, oh, I quit my job. And I'm like,
oh my gosh.
Okay, well, I guess if you quit your job, that means you believe this is something awesome too.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, you know, your fiance didn't quit his job, but it was like, if you believe in this too, or if you believe in me, then I guess we're in this. So that's pretty awesome that he believed in you, Mr. Conservative.
I know. Yeah.
And
no, I
so
feel
he
really
pushed
lucky.
you off the cliff.
He did. He definitely pushed me. And it was so funny. Like, I remember being like, what am I going to do to fill my time? Like, how am I going to make this thing that I did part-time for so long full-time? And it happened very quickly.
Yes.
And yeah, it was great. It was so much fun.
It's also a really good sign. I find if I hire somebody and their time is immediately filled up, I'm like, okay, this was a good sign. I needed them right away. Like, so if you quit your job and your time was immediately full, like that was the right thing to do.
Yeah,
you
it
had
was needed.
You had so much that you weren't able to do. You needed that 100% commitment to that new thing.
Yes. So it's funny. I tell people that now. I'm like, you can't do two things 100%. You know what I mean? Like, I'm the person that I hated hearing. So it works out.
You're living and breathing in. Okay. So you quit your job, you went in, what's been the hardest part of the, you know, being your own boss? What's been the scariest, hardest part?
I'd say hiring my first employee was really scary for me, because she left a corporate job and she came to work for me. And the idea that I'm supporting someone else is terrifying. Yeah. For some reason, like the lease, the store, like that was scary, but it was like not as scary as having someone's life and livelihood depend on me. Yeah. So it's definitely a different hustle. It's definitely a different light under my bum, like to get me moving in the morning, you know? And I remember hearing that from like many people on a similar path. Like, you will feel differently about your work when you have other people depending on you.
Yeah. But it's so motivating, right? Like, you're going. There's no looking back.
Yes, for sure. So, but it's been so great, and I can accomplish so much more, and really pushing through that. Like, there's times where she's like, I feel overwhelmed and I need help. And I'm like, how in the world did I do this for so long alone? You know, I mean, I'd have people help out, but someone consistently full-time, and to have her feel, it's like what you said. It's like when you know, I'm like, oh man, how did this happen? We needed this to happen sooner, but hindsight's 2020.
Yeah. What are you most proud of?
The store. Yeah, I feel like the grand opening at the store was a really cool moment I'll remember forever. Like, they even had the cheesy, like, big scissors, and there's like a councilwoman there, and like it was just so fun and like extra. And I'm so glad that I did it, because it felt like a lot at the time, but looking back, like, how often are you going to have that moment, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really awesome that you took the time to like really set it up to say, well, how many times am I going to have this chance and this opportunity, and really did it the way that you wanted to do it.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like the same way about your grand opening. Like, what a statement to open with, you know, like that was such a fun party and everybody was having such a great time.
Yeah. Well, and you hired a PR firm, right, to help you as well. So how did that go? Did you like that experience?
Yeah, it was huge. I'm so happy that I did it. I think that like she helped me really like make more connections with influencers that I wasn't already working with. Yeah. Reaching out to them, starting those personal relationships with them, which I continue today. And then also organizing the grand opening. So we also had like a private VIP influencer event, and then we had a public grand opening. And she really helped with all of that. And it was really nice because it was like, in a ways, it felt like a party planner assistant sort of thing, because she just made sure like, this is what they want, this is what we need to provide. And I felt like, the proof was in the pudding. Everybody really enjoyed it. I had a line out the door when I opened, which was a really cool feeling. Like, I didn't think that was going to happen. So yeah, I think it's just one of those things where it was like totally worth it. It was a really scary investment at the time because you're opening, right? Like, you're bleeding money at this point. Like, you're spending all the money all the time. But this was something that I felt like was a really good investment for me.
Well, and I think to me, it shows something, like it goes along with something that I really believe in, which is that you set yourself up for what people understand and know about you. Like, you invest in those things. And so like, you do the right thing and you invest in the right thing to say, like, this is what I'm about. This is the store that we are. This is the brand that we are. And so people understand that, instead of just like kind of just opening your doors softly and saying, we're kind of here. We kind of opened. We kind of are just, another boutique in the neighborhood, and you can come in if you want to. It's like, no, we are here. We are making a statement. We hired all the right people. We invited everybody. This is the place to be. And like, you shouldn't be anywhere else this day. And so
come here now.
Like, this is it. And like, I think that makes such a difference in like everybody's understanding of what your store is about. And so that's how I've always tried to operate our brand. And so the fact that you did that, like, I'm like, yes, she's doing it right. Like, I totally agree with that. So anyways, I just love that you did that.
Well, thank you. I was definitely out of my comfort zone, like, I definitely believe in like hire for your weaknesses and all that. But I think what was hard is like, I could piecemeal it. Like, I was like, I know enough people, I could try to do it myself, but let's just do it. Like, we're only going to grand open once. And then we actually extended the contract through the holidays because I was like, she helped me this much with the grand opening. Let's keep this momentum going through holidays, which is our biggest season, right, in retail. So we did that, and it was great. It was so much fun. We launched a holiday collection, and we shared that out. And so it's just been a really fun way to like keep things moving. Like, I don't think I realized how holiday oriented I'll have to be in retail, but it's like, okay, Valentine's Day, that's the next push. We have a collection. St. Patrick's Day, what are we doing? It's one of those things where it's like, you just keep the momentum coming, people coming in the door, and just try to be as strategic as you can.
Yeah. Well, and I love that you said that you can just piecemeal it. And sometimes as a business owner, you're like, okay, fine, we'll bootstrap it, we'll piecemeal it. I will. But then in other ways, it's like, no, we can't piecemeal it. Like, if it's customer facing, we have to like hire the right people and get it done perfectly, or people will not like perceive us the right way.
Yeah. I completely agree. And I think I definitely felt that in your space. Like, it just had an air of like professionalism, and it was so detail oriented. It was beautiful. Like, this wasn't done by us, right? We had help,
like,
right?
I literally didn't like design all of this myself or build it myself. Like,
Right. And I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I know what I do well, but I'm not a full-time designer. I'm not an architect. You know what I mean? And I think leaning on that help, it's like, that makes us so much stronger, and you can see that in your space.
Yeah, I think that's what kind of helps set you apart as a brand, is being willing and know that you can find the right people to help you.
Yeah,
too.
I completely agree.
So, so let's see, what gave you the courage, I think, to go after brick and mortar? Like, you've been online and you've been doing a small space it's pretty big, in the Made in Casey marketplace and in other places. What gave you the courage to open a store?
I hired a business coach.
Okay.
And she's actually an inventory management consultant, because I was a mess and I had no idea left from right what to do. And
that takes courage to admit, by the way.
It's a facade. Don't believe anything. It's usually a mess behind it. But no, I was really struggling, and a friend of mine recommended her and how she kind of turned her business around. And she was actually at a point where she almost had to leave her space, her brick and mortar, and her landlord was like, stay in the space, we'll hire this person and she'll help you. And she totally did, and changed their business. So I kind of leaned on her. I've been working with her for about 1.5 years. She's totally changed my life. It's been amazing. That's one thing I would highly recommend for anybody, is hiring a coach or a consultant or a mentor or anybody that they can find that's where they want to be. Yeah. And her name is Natalie, and she's just, a couple of her clients joke that she's the boss because she just like helps us dictate so many things. And she was like, Emily, Made in Casey is going so well. You really need to open your own store. And I was like, I really don't want to open my own store. Like, this is like a lot of work, the day-to-day management and, people management, all that stuff. I'm like, gosh, this doesn't sound like something I really want to do. But Megan Casey was going so well. And she was like, you will be able to sustain and grow more if you have your own store. You'll be able to have the whole space, not just a small 10 by 10. So we started looking, and I hired a broker, and she which was amazing because she helped me like negotiate and really helped me like represent my noviceness, because again, had no idea what I was doing, right? Like, I don't know how any of this works. Really leaned on all my friends who were already doing it. And she helped me find this space, and we got the keys, and my gosh, it's just so funny thinking about all the things I didn't know how to do. And I just leaned on everybody I knew that had done it before. Like, who's your electrician? Who's your broker? Who's your painter? You know what I mean? Like, it's just so much of that, like, humble, like, I don't know what I'm doing. I need help, so luckily all my friends were really willing and open to share. And we've had the best year yet. Like, we just celebrated our strongest year. We're about to go out on a team celebratory dinner this weekend, which I'm really excited about. And it's just been a huge game changer. So I'm really grateful for her. I hope she never leaves me. So yeah.
That's so, I'm so impressed and proud of you, because like the biggest key that I just heard you say is like all the things you didn't know. Like, if you look, if you went back 3 years from now, you'd be like, I can't believe I hired a broker. Mm-hmm. Like, I've never hired a broker, and I would be so proud of myself to hire a broker by myself. Like, I still have Soren hire brokers for me. Right. Soren, you talk to the least people. Like, I can't talk to the least people. Yeah. But I would be really proud of myself to figure that out. Like, you talked to the electrician, you did that, you did that. Like, literally says anybody can figure these things out. Mm-hmm. Which I've said, I think recently I've been listening to have you read Marie Forleo's book, Everything's Figure-outable? No,
but I was listening to it earlier, and I was like, oh man, like that's going on my list.
Yeah. Like, it's true. You really can figure everything out if you have that drive to. Yeah. But like, it's that humility to be like, okay, this is the thing I want, which means I have to be willing to say, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know.
Yes.
And then just suck it up and ask people.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, no one's born an expert, right? Like, I think about brands that I really admire, and there was a time when you guys didn't know how to do something. Or, I think about my friend Robin, who owns a bakery, and she used to own the filling station. She's someone who I leaned on a lot, And she, she didn't know how to paint or having like she learned all this stuff just as as much as I did, and that humility I think is super important, and it saves a lot of time in the long run, right? We don't have to vet out all these people. So
yeah, and so many people are willing to say, yes, I will help you, or yes, I will answer your questions.
Absolutely. And I really try to be open to that when people ask me questions and want to learn more about like what I do or certain strategies I have, and I feel like just kind of being open and willing to share as much as I know, because that's what a lot of people have done for me, and I wouldn't be here without that support.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's so admirable, and I think you would find that most people are willing to do that if you just are willing to ask.
Yeah, a lot of people don't ask.
Yeah, that's scary.
It's
scary to ask,
especially someone you don't know, right?
Yeah, it's scary to say, "Will you help me?"
Right?
I don't know the answer to this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's getting out of that comfort zone.
Yes, a lot of that.
Yeah. So, what is next? What's next on your scary list? What's the next thing you're getting up the courage to do? Or maybe you've already gotten off the courage and you're just getting ready to go do it.
Yeah, so I'm getting married in May.
That's awesome.
So that's very scary. We're practically married already, but I'm really excited about that. I'm also we're going to be growing this year, so I would love to eventually at some point open a second store, but that really just depends on the opportunity and if that's right and a good fit, and all the processes that go along with that, negotiating, lawyers, leases, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think that would be a really great goal in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
We really enjoyed it. I feel like people have really connected with the store, and it seems like a really great way to invest more of that energy.
That's so awesome. How big of what's your staff like right now?
We have one full-time person and then a handful of part-timers. And the funny thing is I think about what I do, and this is something that Natalie, my coach, really challenged me on. She's like, you can do all these things,
Yeah.
but you really need to take a step back, look at where your calories are being spent and what you need to be doing. You don't need to be doing half the things you're doing, and you're wasting time, and that's your biggest resource that you need to covet, So I really try to channel that, think about that, and see what I can delegate and what I don't need to do, because I think that's what's going to stress me out. It's like, I need to make this delivery, or I need to go pick up this delivery, or I need to pick up this product, or I need to take out, so all of those little things that make your day tighter and more stressed, that's what I need to delegate. It sounds easy, but that's the biggest challenge for me right now, I think.
Yeah. I think Soren and I are in the same boat, where we hired a coach in the last, 4 months as well. And it's just that constant battle between working on the business and working in the business.
Yes.
And it's just all of your week can be taken up by working in the business.
Yes.
And it's like, oh my goodness, I was needing to work on it.
Yes.
And all of my time got sucked up in, doing tasks and doing those, like, this needed to get done. I didn't make any plans. Like, I didn't plan ahead, not once this week, and it just kills us. So
yeah, I think that's definitely something that a lot of business owners struggle with, right? Like, one of the reasons why they don't grow is they're wrapped up in the day to day, and that's something that I'm trying to be aware of.
Yeah, you can't ever plan ahead for that second store if you're constantly making deliveries. And that's like a total metaphor even for like all of us, right? Like, I can't plan ahead for any other stores or any other even products or anything if I'm constantly like photographing today's products or whatever.
Right, exactly. And that's the thing too that I feel really appreciative about, is that, I have a great team in place. They really help. I'm like, okay, if you want to do this, do it. Like, I really try to not micromanage, empower people to own what they're doing and figure it out, because it's like they'll ask me for things and I'm like, I know as little as you do. So we're going to figure this out together, right? Like, I can't count how many times I told that to my manager, like, never done this before. We're doing it together. And I think when I remind her of that, that kind of helps. Like, okay, like, she's really invested because of that growing together from the grassroots aspect, and it's like, we don't have systems in place. We're not a corporation. We don't have HR procedures and, active shooter procedures, like all these things that like, we're not there. So not to say that it's not important, but
all of those things are important, but they are a struggle to put in place. It's all hard. Everything seems simple, and it's very simple to say out loud that we need these things, but
like Apple Maps, it sounds really easy.
Let me tell you, I've been working on the same thing this week, and it's not easy.
Oh my gosh, it's like they don't want people to find us.
No, they want to send you a postcard with a verification code.
Yes.
And if you have an automated phone system, that doesn't work, and it's a hot mess. So if you just I feel you there. We're on the same page. So, what's your best piece of advice you think for having courage to kind of take those leaps, for continuing to take those leaps? Because I feel like you've taken several jumps. Do you have any solid advice?
I say things that kind of really made the difference from me in the past year and a half, because a year and a half ago, I was not in the best place. I was not feeling my job. I was not feeling some of the relationships I had. I was in a dark, shadowy place. And I think what's interesting, it's like, I think about my attitude then, and I think about my attitude now, and I definitely go there sometimes, but I really try to be aware of the way that I approach things. Like, I really try not to talk negatively about people. I really try to be appreciative about my situations. Granted, during the holiday, I will complain, and my fiance was like, what are you doing? You get to do whatever you want every day. Why are you complaining about your situation? Which was a great reminder. So very appreciative of that. But I think really, like, looking at your attitude, like, if it feels like a chore, you're not going to want to do it. And there are not fun things that we as business owners have to do. But I think delegating for things that you don't want to do or things that you're not good at. Like I'm not going to file my own taxes, like, because I'm not good at it. And if I hire someone else to do it, they'll probably find me more savings. Or photography, having someone else do it, they're going to take better pictures than you because that's what they do full time. So I think really thinking about those things, especially what you don't want to do, because I feel like when people are forced to think about or do the things that they don't want to do, it makes them burn out faster. Yeah. And the goal is to go forever, right? Until we choose not to, not until we're burnt out and we feel like lifeless and limp. So I feel like that's something to consider. I think definitely feeling grateful for where you are and what you have and not just where you want to go. Like going back to, I feel like the things you accomplished last year, like we've done a lot and it's not just about what we're lacking, but what we have already. And I think that mindset helped me a lot. There's definitely things I want to do and want to grow, but really being appreciative for my current situation, I've really tried to be aware of. And then I think lastly, like being very conscious of who you spend your time around, because if I was just listening to my parents, I never would have left. You know what I mean? Like it's the whole like, you're not going to have health insurance and you're leaving a salary and like all of these things. But when I surround myself with business owners, they're like, Emily, why haven't you done this already? Like you're going to do so well. Like people are going to love it. You're going to do a great job. And I think really being conscious of those voices that you let in is a huge game changer, because yeah, like I said, if you listen to the people that are the most negative, then you're going to go less far.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. That really resonates with me. Recently, I've made some changes with who I surround myself by. And I was at a conference in October, and Rachel Hollis was there actually, and she's like, "Do you have a hype squad?" And I was like, "No." She was like, "That is so important." And she wasn't literally having a conversation with me, but in my mind we were.
Of course,
and I'm like, I don't have a hype squad except for like maybe Derek, my producer, and Soren, and like my friend Josh, and I was, a couple other people. And I was like, I need a hype squad. I need more of that. And so
I completely
I've been
agree.
Very conscious of that as I've been hiring in. And oh my goodness, like my life is changing so much by like consciously hiring in a hype squad and like surrounding myself with people that I feel like, yes, you qualify to be on my hype squad. Yes, you qualify to be on my hype squad. And like my confidence has changed. My ability to make decisions is changing. And so, yeah, I totally agree. Like if you surround yourself by people who are like, be more cautious. I don't really think you can do it. I think maybe you should rethink that. Like you will not make any good decisions. You won't go anywhere in life.
Right.
So I love that.
I'm also planning a wedding, so I've learned to not ask anyone anything of any opinions.
Just do what you want.
It's so frustrating.
Yeah.
And it's a parallel to the business. It's like if I survey all of these people and their opinions, I'm going to be in the same place and I'm not going to, you know what I mean? So I think it's just so funny to think about, like being really picky about that company, really having someone that is where you want to be. It's not just like, hey, they can help me do this or do my taxes, but Natalie, she's had several stores. She knows how to do something well. She knows how to do it successfully, and leaning on that expertise and listening to them, being open to them. People pay for coaches all the time, but they won't actually do the advice. I think that's the other thing. We can spend money all day, but actually practicing what they tell us to do is its own challenge.
It's true. I have 2 coaches right now. 2 for 2 different things. And I'm like, okay, I have to do the homework. Like I'm paying for this. I have to, I get out of it what I put into it. So like you got to do the homework, you got to put into it, and then you'll get what you pay for.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I love that. Awesome. Okay, well, where can people find you so they can follow you and see all your awesome things and come find your store and see you online, all those things?
The brick and mortar's in Brookside, Kansas City, so it's about 10 minutes south of the plaza. And then you can find me on Instagram at eb.and.co or eb&co. And on Facebook, I believe it's ebkcmo.
Awesome. Okay.
So
So everybody can look that up.
And then the web address is ebandcompany.com. So you can find all of our fun holiday-oriented collections and all that fun stuff.
Okay. Well, if you're in Kansas City, pop into her store and
yes,
see her. And then go find her on Instagram and on Facebook. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
This was wonderful to have you.
Yeah.
I loved chatting with you. So best of luck with the wedding and upcoming plans and implementing all of your coaching. I know it's a challenge.
Yeah, likewise. No, I'm thrilled to be here and so proud of you guys. You're a huge inspiration for Kansas City. So
awesome. Well, it's so good to have you, and have a great week. Thanks everybody, and make sure you like, subscribe, and we'll see you next week, and have a great week. Thanks for listening today to With Kilee Nichols. Stay tuned next week for another episode. And if you can't wait until then, you can find me at onelittlemama.com, MOMMA, for beauty, our family, style tips, and more. And you can find my business at nickelandswade.com with the and spelled out. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.